The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Friday.
Oh, no, not Friday.
Yeah, welcome to our world. Friday, live TV. Oh, boy, we got so much to talk about, huh? Again.
Well, as many people probably know by now, the MSBA has issued their ruling, and they're going to give the city 62.5% of what is necessary to build a $263 million high school. And that's going to come to about $98.5 million that we have to pay.
Yeah, if you believe that. I'll tell you what, I'll bet anybody out there a coffee that that tab is higher than that at the completion of this.
Oh, I'm quite sure.
Of this fiasco, cost overruns, all kinds of other stuff, and we'll be paying more than 98 anyway because they'll bond for the full amount, and they'll go after every other thing they can get. So,
of course, you have to get everything you can out of the whole deal.
Yeah, well, and as Kenny Pacheco stated in public at a city council meeting, they bond more than they need.
That's right.
They always have a little extra cushion put in. Or, as a former chief of staff said, and I like the term, that's where they get their magic money. They get their magic money from stuff like that. Well, you know, they tell a taxpayer they're paying $5,000 for office furniture and they're only paying $1,500, and the rest of it goes into the magic money fund. And then when they get something they want, they've got the money for it, like the mayor has money to pay all those pay raises, so don't worry about it. Not the fact that those pay raises are unjustified when you have unions without contracts and people that can't settle contracts because of $80,000. Those are his peeps, and so he always finds money for his peeps, and that's the reality of it. Because, you know, this city is totally out of control. You get people that are the lowest paid in the state, one of the lowest paid groups in the state, that have to deal every single day with special needs children, have a good rapport with those people's families because they work with them basically all the way through school. And they have to beg, and they're told that they can't get a contract, even though they're the lowest paid. Forget about people should be paid what they're worth and comparable to other communities. That doesn't work for the working man. That's only for the political hacks and cronies.
$40,000 pay raises.
Yeah, the same two people that are going to rape the retirement system by getting full retirement, full pensions based on their big, fat, newly raised salaries, even though they only worked part-time for years. Other people are going to then tell their minions to come over and vote against the $360 a year COLA for the other people who are living on fixed incomes. You know, some of them well under $20,000 a year, and trying to pay for, you know, 70 medications that have been increased, and that $360 COLA will still leave them about $500 short of just the increases of costs in the medical coverage, in the drugs, and in other ancillary things at the city. Water, sewer, taxes, there'll be a couple thousand in arrears if they get that $360 COLA. So again, if you think I'm irritated, and I read an email from one of our fans saying, you know, we say that we got to do something to get it to sit in. Well, that's the problem, apathy. You know, apathy. You know, people will complain at the coffee while they're drinking their coffee and eating their breakfast. But then when you tell them to get up and stand up in front of a camera and tell people you're displeased, oh, I don't want, then they'll know who I am, and they might, they'll pick on me and stuff. So, if you're not willing to take the arrow in the forehead, well, so be it. But you're not gonna stop us from complaining.
Well, I wanted to give you a couple of numbers on this bonding. Okay, Westport just recently got approved.
Yes.
For theirs.
Yes.
Which is about half of what ours is costing, because they got 49.5%. Talk about an odd amount.
Yeah, well, that's the state. That 0.5% means a lot of money to the state.
Well, actually, it does.
Yeah, that's right. When you look at 0.5% of, when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, it's it's enough to get to go to the movies in Fall River.
Exactly. Well, what they're looking at in Westport on theirs, which is about half of what we're bonding, is $30 a quarter in increased taxes, because they're doing a debt exclusion as well, on a $100,000 home. There aren't many $100,000 homes in Westport.
No.
The average home in Westport is $400,000. That's going to be $120 a quarter. That's $480 a year more in taxes. That's in Westport. Now let's look at Fall River. It would be $100 a quarter on a $100,000 home.
Yeah, but they don't. You notice they don't really make a big point of making that point. They just emphasize $100.
Exactly. But on a $250,000 home, which the average home in Fall River is somewhere between $250,000 and $280,000, it's going to be $250 to $280 a quarter.
A quarter.
A quarter.
A quarter. Now wait a minute. Let's do the math for our people out there who can't do the math. Let's say we'll go low.
We'll make it an even $250.
Well, $250. Yeah, that's $1,000 a year.
Exactly.
$1,000 a year. Divide that per month, and you got the now. But remember, everybody out there, you're going to add this to your new water and sewer fee,
which are going up because there's a $123 million bond,
and your new taxes, which because if we didn't have this bond, and your house didn't go up $1 in evaluation, you would have got an increase in your tax bill this year anyway, because the tax factor has changed.
That's right.
So don't forget that. And don't forget all the other TIFs and things that are now going to be added into the tax base again. So guess what? We're going to go over the tax rates and how they.
That's actually the next column.
Our next thing. But, I got a new name for our council president. Cliff, I love to call special meetings Ponte. So already he hasn't been in office 2 months.
And he's got two special meetings.
And he's got 2 special meetings already. Because I know what they're going to say. Oh, this is so important because of the children. The children. The children. Well, if the children were so important, why didn't you maintain the building? Why didn't you replace the pipes in the standpipe or sprinkler or whatever? We never got a full story on exactly what it was. Why didn't you check? Were they checked? Did anybody ever see if they were checked in accordance with the standard? If they had flow tests, if they had all the tests that are necessary, which is stipulated, and I sent you the
Yes.
NFPA standards.
Yep, I read them.
On the testing. So do we know that? Do we know if the building's been maintained? And I seem to remember, although they always get with it's not. I call it political amnesia. Politicians have that malady all the time.
All the time, yes.
They forget, what happened yesterday if it benefits them. That picture that I saw that was on Facebook with the buckets catching the water?
Yes.
That had nothing to do with the standpipe.
No, that had to do with rain.
That had to do with rain. So, I mean, a 40-year-old building that's, why didn't we put a roof on? Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do the maintenance for 40 years? Somebody was getting a 6-figure salary being in charge of buildings and grounds, and somebody on the city side was responsible for that, again, making a 6 or nearly 6-figure salary. No maintenance, who gives a damn? Because what we do is add another $1,000 to the taxpayers' pay. And guess what? You're going to add $1,000 to the 34.1% of the people who actually have owner-occupied properties. And some of those people are retirees living on $15,000 or $16,000 a year. So you're going to add, fundamentally, $1,000 to them, to their bills. You're going to add a water fee. You're going to add
Sewer.
You know, the sewer. You're going to add the tax factor, and you're going to add the other bond that we paid to their cost of living. And you expect them to be able to pay. And then you jack up 70 or more prescription drugs, 2 tiers. It's going to cost them another. And then you begrudge them a $360 a year, less than $1 a day. Hey, the city's going to, oh, wait, watch the hell I raise at that meeting on a retirement board. Yeah, keep your eyes open. Previews are coming, attractions, because you know, it's all gonna. We're gonna rehash all these pay raises and all the other money they've wasted, but they don't want to give it to the retirees. And I will remind everybody at that board meeting that the 2 people that are recommending not paying this, because we don't have any money for that, we got plenty of money for their pay raises, are both going to get a pension that they don't deserve, in my opinion. They're legally entitled to it, so they have to get it. But the fact is, they worked full-time for 5 years, and they're going to get a full-time pension.
Mary Sahady just started working full-time.
That's right. But she also, and I'll remind them of that at the meeting, she is also the individual who called the retirees a liability. The people who worked hundreds of thousands of years for this city at low pay for the most part.
Who cares?
So you call those people liabilities. And I know you said you really didn't mean that, but you did, because your actions speak louder than words. You know, all we are is a number and a liability to them. And just like the taxpayers, all we are is an ATM machine that they use till they empty it. And then what happens when they empty your part of the ATM machine? They send somebody in front of the council to say, well, if they can't afford it, let them sell their house and get out of here. Well, you know, the rich get rich and the poor get poorer, because when we get to this, we'll find out that Newton's tax rate's a hell of a lot lower than ours, and people in Newton make that average of $113,000 to $116,000 a year. That's their household income, while ours is 30-some thousand. So do the math.
Well, and you know, when it comes to contracts, you say you want to compare yourself to Newton, they say, no, you can't do that. You're not the same.
Well, that's only if you're a bargaining unit. But
That's
if
right.
they want to get the city administrator a raise.
That's right. I was just going to say.
Oh, look what they get in Newton.
That's
look
right.
What they get. Yeah, of course. But we'll go over those figures. Those figures are really staggering.
Well, I mean, Newton's tax rate is $10.82 per thousand.
Yeah.
Per thousand.
That's right.
Okay? As opposed to Fall River's tax rate, which is $14.62 per thousand.
Yeah, and let's look at these figures since we segued over.
And Westport is $8.17 per thousand.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay, so let's look at these vast differences.
But they can afford, but we can afford a tax rate more than a tax rate that's going up from $8 to maybe 10 or something, you know. So, but just look at these numbers, CJ. You know, this shows the reality of what we have here. And if you don't think that like we said, as the Donald said, the S-holes of the state, not the S-holes of the world, we all pay higher taxes proportionally, because all those S-holes have very low incomes.
That's
so
right.
If you look at the tax rate, as I said, you look at the richest the richest city of our size in the state of Massachusetts. My favorite little example, Newton. So there's Newton in there with their $10 and change tax rate. Now you look at the crap holes. Brockton, 1606. Crap hole. even a little higher than Fall River. But that's why they say, oh, we're low. Yeah, compared to the other crap holes that burden the few working people and people with money with all the bills to handle all the other, all their pay raises and all their, and all the sponges that we have living in the city. What did I just say? Brockton, 16. New Bedford, 16. See, that's what they'll say. Fall River's low. Look, there's 16. Well, look at those cities. Look at those cities. Nobody makes any money. They're overburdened. All the people in these types of cities are overburdened. Now, let me see.
Right.
I didn't see Lynn in here. I got Linfield. Can you find Lynn on this? I've been looking around for Lynn. Lynn isn't in there.
No, I don't think I don't.
Yeah, Lynn, they probably haven't set their rate yet.
Yeah, that could be it.
Probably it. But now we got Lowell, another crap hole. They're like Fall River. They're probably the closest city to Fall River. I mean, in demographic, when you look at their population, $14 and
Which
change.
is what we're paying.
Which is what we're paying. So you look at all the crap holes in the state. They're all paying higher taxes than the nicest place of our size to live in the state. And if you look at all the other towns and you go, oh, well, look at some of these people are paying like.
Look at Boston. Look at Boston. $10.48 for Boston. 10 times our size.
Yeah. Well, their excuse for Boston, and it's justified. They have a tremendous commercial tax base because
of course they
being the capital of the state and all the business. But then look. What happens when you actually have businesses that pay taxes? Like Cambridge, where the colleges pay fees.
Right.
Look at Cambridge's tax rate. You ready for this? Everybody, all right, take out turn up your hearing aids, and take out your earplugs. Cambridge, $6.29.
Per 1,000.
But remember, it's worth $14 to live in Fall River, and it's worth a debt exclusion. Pay more because we can afford it. See, that's the way it's supposed to work. In this society, in this economy, a capitalistic society, you're supposed to charge what the market will bear. You're supposed to, your prices are set and costs are set by the market. So if you live in a rich place or there's a high demand for fewer goods, you can raise the price a little bit when people have money. That's what causes inflation. After you have full employment, like after everybody's employed because we were fighting a long, protracted war like we did, in Korea and in Vietnam, they had inflation because once the military industry shut down, there was some unemployment. But the consumer products kept being produced. So you had a lot of people with money chasing fewer goods. Price goes up. Simple, basic economics. Problem is, it doesn't work when the politicians get involved. If you look at this, we're like the anti-capitalism. Politicians create anti-capitalistic environments because the people who can afford it the least pay the most. The people in the lower middle class and upper lower class, or whatever you want to classify, whatever euphemism you want to talk to, or the best thing to call them is the working poor, because thanks to the politicians, that's what you are, the working poor. We pay the most. Just look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers. Then you'll see they got some aberrations here. Barry, Ashby, they all got high tax rates. Yeah, they got about 12 people in those towns, and they all make probably like $200,000 a year. So don't even look at make a fair comparison. Take cities of our size, most of which are economically depressed. Look at their tax rate, and they are higher than the most affluent communities. Cambridge is in our universe. $6.29. Newton, the two best cities. Newton has the highest household income in the state. Cambridge has the second highest income in the state. So their argument in front of the council and stuff, when they go up there and tell you, you should expect to pay more. Why? The richest people in the state pay less.
Because that's the way it works.
because that's the way it works. My boy Milton, you give them sand, you give them the Sahara Desert, they'll run out of sand. And now, even when they're out of sand, they want you to give sand. They're trying to get blood from a stone. And guess what? I don't want, this vote will be, and and what they'll do is like they do all the time. When they're looking for something, they march them all in. And it's going to be, you're denying the kids. No, I'm not. Well, what I'm trying to do is make sure that you spend your money wisely. And there is an alternative. Everybody forgets that Sean Kadeem attempted to propose an alternative that wouldn't have croaked the taxpayer.
That's right.
And guess what? He got stifled so quickly, it was like...
By Leo Pelletier and Brad Kilby.
Yeah, it was like, go ahead.
Now, here's the thing.
Oh, Brad Kilby, don't even get me going. The guy that voted for $1 million expenditure on the athletic fields before, and now he loves to spend money on schools. I understand he was a school teacher and his wife's a school teacher, and he was on a school committee, and he loves to spend money. But you know something? I don't mind spending money if you got it. But damn it, when are you going to have a break? And if there's a way to do it without increasing taxes, why don't we even look at it?
Right.
But you can't.
That would have just been another tool in the toolbox, as they called it. But here's the thing. Our viewer, Dave, he just sent it. He says, Leo and Brad say, oh, they are worth it. If they're second to none, best they ever saw. And he wants us to do the usual on what this means to the Fall River people.
Okay.
Screw you, taxpayer!
Would you clarify that last statement from Dave, please? Who is second to none?
The students.
Oh yeah. Well, they are a lot lower than. I mean, we looked at our educational system. Look, we have a lot of bright kids that come out of Durfee. I know that. I know people who went to school with my son, and he went to Durfee, and he did pretty well. And my daughter, they both have, graduate degrees. And I know a few people at her class. We had, Jim. He passed away, but Jim Wilcox, former president of the FREA and history teacher at Durfee, and a great guy overall. His daughter Sarah went to Harvard. His son.
Oh, excuse me. I got a correction. The people who are worth it, who are second to none, are Cathy and Mary Sahady.
Oh, God. Gee, that's even worse. Forget it.
Forget it.
Second to none.
Second to none.
Second to none. You mean Sahady, Hagen Sahady, the accounting firm that has been doing our city accounting for like 25 out of the last 30 years, and under oath they admitted they never did it. It was a recreation. It was we found 1 million errors. They've missed all kinds of money, like the 25 accounts I'm sorry, I think it was 8 accounts that were dormant for 25 years. How can you be doing an accounting and miss bank accounts with money in them? Not 1, not 2, but 8 or 9 accounts that there was no activity in for 25 years. And that went in front of the council. Listen, she worked in a small firm that made most of their profit working for the city.
Multiple cities.
She didn't work for Ernst & Young. She didn't work for one of the top accounting firms. They had like a mom-and-pop CPA firm that got all their stuff because of political. It's like some lawyers. The only work they ever got, 90% of the work they got, 90% of the income they got, is because they worked for the city. They were on multiple boards. They were lawyers to the school committee or Diamond or whatever. They've made a nice living, or as Steve Long so aptly put it, my family's made a good living from this city. You're damn right. You've been doing it. The taxpayers have been footing the bill for most of you guys for a long, long time. And
but Brad and Leo both said that Mary Sahady and Cathy Ann are worth it. So I can see the steam coming out of your ears already.
I have no, I mean, geez, that's just absurd.
I think I'm going to invite Dave to come in and be a special guest commentator.
Yeah, well, but I mean, look. Let's not look. It's bad enough. Let's not insult everybody. These, like I said, we went over it wasn't like she would look. Bob Connors came to this community. He worked in New York City. He represented unions. He represented management. He had a fairly good resume. But you look at Cathy, yeah, what did she do? She ran a mall. I mean, city administrator, she ran a mall. You know, we had Bob Connors had a resume. Of course,
Labor negotiator.
Yeah, labor negotiator, worked on both sides, managed at labor. Alan Silver, Harvard MBA. Then the other guy after him, I've already forgot his name, and I dealt with him a whole bunch of times. But he had been a city administrator in 2 or 3 other communities, and he came to Fall River, background. But yeah, look, she got hired to make a spot for Jazel.
That's right.
So he could get into the council, and she could bump her retirement. So, you know, come on, Brad. You know, look, I used to look, going all the way back to the $1 million that you appropriated. We didn't have enough money. Not that we don't, you know, it's nice to have great athletic fields, but we need a great educational environment. We need to educate our children, and this community has been behind. I never see any initiatives to increase the para staffs and the help for the teachers, to decrease the size of classes, things that have educational worth. I can't remember the last time that things that actually affected the learning time in the classroom were addressed by any politician.
Well, this pay raises are going to come up at the next city council meeting in the Committee on Finance, because Brad Kilby I wanted on finance to have an open conversation just to set the record straight, said Kilby before the meeting. I think it should have come to us, but it didn't. So,
but they're still gonna talk about it.
Well, of course, and because everyone's
that's so Brad can say how wonderful they are, and I want him to say that you know, we got to have a comparable salary. We got to get the best and the brightest. So say we got to get to the best and the brightest. Go to Ernst & Young and hire somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you know something, the guy who we hired to audit the city when we sued him and found how bad the books were, I mean, his assistant to the assistant gets what they get. You're not getting those guys. That guy was making. We had that arbitration in the early '90s. And we had to pay Ernst & Young $500 an hour for him. He audited the entire state of Tennessee. He did trillion-dollar audits of states and communities. You don't get those people for that kind of money. You don't get those people. Like I said, if you got somebody who retired and wanted to play around with a small town, yeah. Well, look, let's look. You know, we say it a lot, but if you're going to urinate on my head, Brad and Leo, at least extend me the courtesy of not trying to convince me it's raining. Just say, look, we're giving them the money, and just shut up, please.
That's it. That's it. Hey, for you people in the North End, as we're coming to a close here, Stanley Street is come close to that. $4 million to that $5 million that they need to raise to put that new treatment center down on Weaver Street. So you people in the North End better get raised up in arms and do something, because they've even put pictures in the paper of what the new facility is going to look like. So they're really sure that it's going to happen there, and in all likelihood, it probably will. And it's probably going to be one of those places where they also have a shooting gallery. Because, you know, they want to do that in Rhode Island, and now they're talking about doing it in Massachusetts, so maybe that's going to happen here next, too. You know, places to go in, and we talked about that, what, about a year ago? Mm-hmm. About a year ago we talked about that. So.
But remember, like before the election, you don't want that road to go across the trail. It's not going. Whatever you want. The people in the North End don't want that. But guess what? Election's over. Here it comes. But unlike the commuter rail, which you may not see ever or very quickly, you will see this stuff. So
I'm sure we will.
Open your wallets, everybody. Here they come.
And they're not going to waste any time coming to take it. Hey, everybody, you have a great weekend. And remember, stay angry.